Fill her up.
You're listening to the Gas Digital Network.
This is the intro to the show. Rock and roll, the SDR show. Let's go.
It is the SDR show. I am Ralph Sutton, Dub David Off, coming in straight from Aruba. We are all over the planet today, I believe. It's going to be a very interesting and unique episode. I will jump right into it, Dub, and introduce each of our guests. I'm not even going to give you any for your crappy painting behind you. We're going to go right into it. First, we'll start with the two guests that have formerly been on the show, from both of them from tons of bands. It's not even worth going into the band. Just say their names, and you know who we're talking about. It is David Ellefson and Bruce Kulick. Guys, thank you so much for being on the show. And then the reason why we're all here is for the new album that's coming out soon called Labyrinth Rose. I think I'm saying that right. The new single is Symphony and Metal, featuring these two guys with Marina V. Marina, also welcome to the show.
Thanks so much.
Did I pronounce it right or did I pronounce it wrong?
Labyrinthin.
All right, well, then I don't take that. It's bad enough for you. It's fine. By the way, Dov, you don't know that, you know, I had a radio show for years.
Yes.
And both of these guys had been on my show. I'm just going to bring up a couple of stories. The reason being it ties in to how Marina knows them in a way, too. So David Ellefson has done the show a bunch of times back in my old radio show days. And my moment of glory with him, I don't know when it was, when Megadeth was with Maiden and you were at MSG, I texted him after the show and said, great show. Like, not thinking in a million years that he would text me back and say thank you, and that made me feel like the coolest guy in the world that he responded to me. Bruce did my old radio show, performed live doing the song Strutter with Ron Keel 100 years ago. Yeah. And then there's this crazy story where he got shot once and went to the hospital, and he called us from the hospital room live on the radio, and he was so on drugs, didn't even remember it until years later. So guys, thank you so much for being on the show. And the reason why I tell that whole story is that how Marina met these guys is also a little weird. When she got signed to PV, her artist rep was David, and she didn't even know who David Ellefson was at that point. And her husband had to say, no, I have his poster on my wall, dude. Like, that's how that came about. Is that right, Marina?
That's exactly right.
And your husband, who's the one who kind of told you. But Bruce, I believe, met your husband years and years ago. Bruce was also on My Star, another song you did years ago. So all together, through your husband, is where I imagine these relationships started from way back when. Is that fair?
Exactly. That's perfect.
And it's fun because this album now brings these two legends to this symphony and metal. So my first question as we get into this is, how difficult is it both for you guys? I'd like everyone to answer this, because when Marina says, hey, write a bass line or write a guitar lick, A, are you going to correct them afterwards if you're not happy with it? Because that'd be a hard thing to do. And B, with these guys, have you ever worked together before? Like, tell me about the whole synergy behind all of this. And whoever wants to go first, just go right ahead.
Well, I was waiting for my yard guy to get done with mowing the grass, but so I was on mute. So anyway, we're gonna have to start now. You're right about everything. Everything is a true statement. Yeah, Marina and I met when I was doing PV's Artist Relations, 2003 to 2007. You know, she was the young, awesome, hustling, hardworking, independent artist, dragging her piano everywhere. You know, we just came from the NAMM show in Anaheim. I remember she was playing everywhere. It was like, I mean, every wine tasting events over in the courtyard, here, there, everywhere. I'm like, man, like this girl knows how to work. And then I guess Nick came in the picture a little while later, and I remember we were even on a Megadeth tour or something. We ran into each other somewhere in
Germany. In Germany.
Yeah,
because my tour started in Munich, and you had a show the night I flew in. I'm like, oh my god!
Which I was very impressed, because it's all that hard work paid off, you know. So, but yeah, so it was, you know, it's our friendship started then. Bruce and I, of course, have known each other since probably even before that, with our Kiss Megadeth friendship, you know, over the years. We did a rock and roll fantasy camp tour. I tell the story many times where Bruce bailed me out on a rock and roll fantasy camp tour where Mark Hudson was screaming at me because I didn't know 60s oldies rock and roll songs. I'm like, I don't know these songs. It's like, And Bruce goes, "Give me the bass, buddy. I'll bail you out." And he did. So Bruce, I'm indebted to you forever.
That's
So,
funny.
uh,
When you said that, David, it reminds me. There was this thing I used to host. It was the Motorhead Cruise and the Shiprock Cruise, and now there's this Metal Allegiance thing going on forever. And David, you remember we were backstage and we were doing the first like all-star, at the end of Shiprocked or Motorhead Cruise, and I'm just yelling at all these legends, asking who knows what songs to figure out who's going to be the band, the next lineup to go up on stage and do songs. That was the birthing of Metal Allegiance right there.
it was. So, Megadeth was supposed to be on that boat, and then Dave canceled off of it. And so I was like, look, everyone's already going to be here. And you know me, I'm kind of the diplomat and ambassador of the neighborhood, right? So I'm like, look, let's pull everybody together. So we started Metal Allegiance. We were going to launch it at NAMM a couple months later anyway. So fortunately, the organizers of Motorboat, which are the Shiprock people, they kindly let us have the closing all-star spot. And then, now I was just talking to Mark Mengy about that yesterday, as we were wrapping up from the show. And he even said, he goes, now everybody's doing it. Now Shiprock has stowaways.
Yeah.
Even on the Megadeth cruise, I hit Frank Bello and Charlie Benante, and we basically put together a Kiss jam. So I call Frank and go, what do I do here? Like, Dave's not on that boat either. So now I'm running this boat, and we need to do a jam. And he goes, well, everybody loves Kiss songs. And dude, it was awesome, man. It was like the highlight of the. I wish you were there, Bruce. It would have been.
Yeah, great. I missed out on that one, but
you should have called Bruce on that one. So
yeah. But circling back to you, anytime I could help out, those kind of things when we used to do the fantasy camp and work with that. Everyone's just not everyone can know everybody's songs, and I'm sure I was just very impressed the Hawaiian thing we did where I hadn't played with you and you were singing and playing, and it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed that. And then I have this long history with Marina. Of course, it. Really, I really think we're all here. The two rock metal guys are here because of her husband. There's no doubt. And Nick being a big Kiss fan. Apparently, he shared photos of me. Oh God, I think it's backstage. Like he might have taken a photo with me, either Asylum or Crazy Nights. Do you remember, Marina? He shared some photos recently. I don't know when he told you he first saw me, but then he would come see me with Union back in the early 2000, 2001, around there in LA. And then I kept in touch with both them, Marina and her husband. And I know I did that project with her back in 2010, I believe. But this one was like a perfect, connection between symphony and metal. As soon as you put that in the title, and then the music supports it so well with her voice and what we could add for the rock and roll part of it. I think it really is another facet of Marina's beautiful voice and career.
Marina, when they sent you their parts, I know that you said you had to feel like you had to re-record your vocals because they kicked up their energy so much on that track. You're like, oh, I gotta go back and make my vocals even stronger. But were you prepared if you didn't like whatever they sent to say, hey guys, you got to redo this or anything like that? Or were you going to be content with whatever they sent you?
First of all, if I didn't like it, I would have said it for sure. I would not sit and quietly suffer. But the reason I approached these two guys, because they're not only, legendary musicians, you guys are so good at your craft. You're so versatile. So I actually did not even think that would ever come to a point where I fix that, because I knew with your experience and your just musicality, you would come up with something I would love, because I'm a big fan of you both. So
right. You admitted, Marina, I was very nervous in some ways that I kept feeding you. What do you think of this? I just kept sharing a little bit of my approach because I didn't want to go down the rabbit hole of being not in a vision that's going to complement where you guys thought the song could be. And then I kept getting huge thumbs up and support from you. So I went down that road, which I like to call, I imagined that Bob Ezrin was in the room with me conducting my guitar work, you know what I mean? Because he's worked with rock guitar players very well with strings and that kind of, not necessarily with a singer like you, but in that kind of grandiose, concept. So following that imaginatory production in my brain, fortunately, you and Nick loved it, and here we are. And I don't think David was on the track yet, and it was your first vocal, which you admitted to me that you were going to redo. You know
That's right.
that.
Well, yeah, absolutely. That's
Mhm.
right. After, yeah. But David specifically wanted to be the last on the track. He
That's
asked me
fine.
because I love that approach. That's Paul McCartney's approach
Yeah, it's the
to doing
Beatle.
bass.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I
It's
love that.
also,
So
by
when
the
you
way,
said, I'm
Dove's
like, okay,
approach. It's Dove's approach in orgies. He always wants to be the last one in for some reason.
thanks for
No,
that.
no, I'm still working with the phrase "sit and quietly suffer" because it describes my marriage wonderfully.
I thought you were going to
Wow.
say
I
it
love that.
describes you on my podcast, on this podcast.
No. Go
No,
ahead.
I like, I started doing that in the late 90s. We were making records in Nashville. And I thought, just kind of from a sonic perspective, you can, it's because probably the way we all cut records back in the day, if you weren't playing together in a room, is you cut drums and you cut bass and you cut rhythm guitars, you kind of build the house, right? And I realized, with rock and metal, especially, drums and guitars really are the foundation. They are the blocks. And I started to look at the bass guitar. It's the mortar between the bricks. It's the glue, and it's part of the foundation, but it's more that dynamic. And then as I was listening to Elton John records and Motown stuff, I'm going, it seems like, and even Mariah Carey record, I remember one time I was listening and going, it seems like the bass can be just so melodic and sort of float up above with the melodies as much as it's his foundational instrument. So
One thing I didn't think you'd say in a million years. I was listening to a Mariah Carey record. That's impressive to hear that
I
statement.
remember Mariah Carey when we played Seth Meyers. She was there. She was super cool, man. It's like she was hanging out doing Christmas, and we were hanging out doing Megadeth.
That's
so
cool shit.
But no,
So-
it's funny, to have taken vocal lessons. I don't sing like you, Marina, at all, but taking lessons to sing and. So you can do more than just talk in key, so you can really sing. I love these sort of really wet, syrupy, breathy phrases that you have on the final vocal. And I always admire when people are not afraid to go there and do that. You know what I mean? And I think the acid test for me is you'd sent me the mix. And I had just come from seeing Bryan Adams in Munich, ironically. And so I acid tested it against, 2.5 hours of Bryan Adams, which is pure gold, right? Every song's a hit. And then I put that on my headphones and I listened to the details of the mix and I went, yeah, this totally measures up. We are right in the ballpark. So I was like, we really nailed it. And it was fun with the track because every time I get something like that, I'll sit here, I'll make a chart because time is money, and I'll go in the studio and sometimes I'll cut 2 or 3 songs and in this case, I think I cut that Donnie Iris song that I just put out, Aaliyah. I cut Marina, your track, and I think I cut one other song for the Lucid, some other new song that we're working on. And so I cut 3 very different genres. And I put yours up first. We dialed the tone with my modulus bass. We put it up and I just read it down top to bottom. And it was a first take. And I was like, that was rad. Don't touch it. You know what I mean? It was just one of those moments. And, the stuff that, in rock and roll, it's everything's all these million notes. And sometimes the harder stuff to play is just laying one big egg there where it's just a nice big whole note, ba, 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 right? Because every note friggin' matters and you can really hear the detail of the note. So it was fun to do a track like that. So thank you, Marina. I don't get to do that every day.
The law of radio back in the days was less is more, so it's amazing how that can be that. So Marina, I want to go through some of your pedigree to the people that don't know, because you grew up in Russia, started playing piano at age 4. Your mom was a psychologist, dad a nuclear physician. Like, these are things that were not very musical, because I guess at that time in Russia, I imagine you're not open to a lot of American music. The thing that made me laugh is that apparently you thought you were the first person to discover the Beatles, which is hilarious in its own right, because you just didn't know. And we had a guy on this show from Gogol Bordello, the Ukrainian band.
Oh, yeah, of course. Love
and
them.
he was talking about how they used to trade music using x-rays of people. They would press music on there because the music was illegal. So the fact that you learned to conduct choirs, play classical music, all this stuff in Russia during that time is a pretty wild feat. And also, I imagine, gives you an appreciation to the music in a way that us dumb Americans could never have.
Well, I definitely come from a slightly different background, and my parents were not musical at all. My grandparents were into classical, so I listened to that. But in my house, there was no music at all, so I had no influences of almost anything. Some Soviet pop bands, and then I discovered the Beatles cassettes have been making rounds, and I just fell in love with the Beatles. But yeah, very, very different background. And
Yeah.
classical music for many years.
I love this. There was an 80s rock band that was Russian called Gorky Park. I'm sure you guys remember them.
Of
Yeah.
That
course.
was the only Russian band. That and a band called Autograph, spelled differently. That was also a Russian rock band. Those are the only two that I knew. But a couple I think they're just cool. Like you entered a talent show. You were the first university student in Springfield or something like that, where you barely spoke English and you were in America. That's correct, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, I won a scholarship sponsored by American government. And later I learned over 100,000 kids competed and only a handful got to go. Spent a year in an American high school to represent other cultures in a small town, USA.
That's
And
pretty
yeah,
wild.
I spoke some English, but not enough to understand a lot of things. So for many people, I was the first Russian they had ever met.
I'm sure. I know about 10 Russian words, and I can make great borscht and pelmeni. How about that?
Hey, that's really good.
Nostrovia.
And also, people used to tell me, I don't know, you guys are not going to know the reference, but that I look like Philippe Kirkorov. I'm sure you know who that is.
Yes, I have
Marina.
seen him. I have met him, actually.
Oh, wow. And people, because I'm also 6'5", so people would always say that I look like him, and that happened to me many times. And the last thing that's wild about you is you also have a YouTube channel for kids with over 1 billion views in it, which is nuts, too.
It is nuts. Kids music is a whole different genre. Now I have a 5-year-old daughter, and I started writing kids songs 4 years ago, and it has just changed my musical life. I'm now actually a kids songwriter, which is crazy. But yeah, kids watch a lot of stuff. It's
Hey, Marina,
almost 2 billion views now.
remember when was it 5 years ago? You'd asked me to play on something, and a bunch of us, and I filmed it walking down like by Jay Rustin Street, the producer.
Oh, yeah.
I was
It
in
was-
with Frank Bello doing
Yes.
something, and it was like, hey, just do a selfie, like talking, singing along to something. What was that? Was that when you were starting to write children's music around that time?
No, that was before we even had my kid. That was in 2018 when we did the Born to the Stars music video, and I had a few cameos. So you were, have
This
you
is
ever
my
watched
second
that
track
video?
for you.
Have you ever
Yeah.
watched that video? I need to send you the link.
Send it over. I should watch
It's really
it. Yeah,
awesome. Bruce is in it. Steel
Yeah.
Panther
Yeah.
is in it.
Yeah.
Jill Sobule is in it. I mean, some really, Thomas and Nicholas in it too, Bruce,
Oh, okay, cool.
from American Pie, who's I met through you and we've become
Sure.
friends.
Yeah.
Bruce, have you and David recorded together ever before, or is this the first time you two recorded together?
That's a great question. And by the way, I love what you did, David. I actually thought you were just egotistical going last, but it's actually the right way to go.
It worked out okay.
We got to wait for David. But actually, I mean, even when I demo new ideas, what David said earlier was exactly right. Like, I have some drums that I could play to. The guitar is really going to drive the song. I have an idea of the melody, but I always wait with the bass, because I love playing bass too. Although as I've gotten older, David, it's the short scale ones, they're a little easier to play. But I wanted to circle back to one thing that Marina said. I wanted to mention, my brother left behind a legacy of great sessions and music and bands that he was involved with. But one of the really crowning jewels of his career was SpongeBob SquarePants, the song "Sweet Victory," with David Glenn Isley as the singer. Eric Singer's playing drums on it. Not sure who played bass actually, but and that's been used at Super Bowl, Paramount Plus TV, and all that stuff. So Marina, maybe we can work in a little bit for the child market there. SpongeBob is certainly a children's thing, even though I used to watch it in my 40s. You know what I mean, or 50s or whatever. But certainly David, it might have been another. I don't know. Might have been another session we were together on.
That's actually a great question, Ralph. I don't know that we have, and it's funny because I was actually going to work with your brother on something. I got a call. One, it was kind of a thing in passing, and whatever, it didn't work out, the timing of it or whatever. I think maybe Tim Ripper Owens had thrown my name in the hat on something.
Right.
It didn't come to pass. But it's so funny because we're always around each other in so many other things, shared stages and stuff. But you're right. This may be the very first recording we've actually ever done together.
And
is
works.
it different to write songs in Russian and in English? Like, is there different ways of sensibility, or when you're doing that, Marina? Does it change things?
It really does. I cannot even translate my own song into, one of the other language when I go back and forth. But Russian is in general, the words are 5 times as long, like five times as many syllables as a as English words. Now I'm learning that every time I speak Russian to my little daughter, and we always joke, like, of course she's going to speak English because it's, the word is shorter, always, almost always. So yeah, it really changes the way even melodies and the structure of a song works because of the
imagine.
weird long words and sentences.
Nabokov, the
Of
writer,
course.
said,
Yeah,
said that
Lolita.
Russian was the language of literature, that he preferred to write in Russian, and he didn't. But I always wondered why. Do you feel like that about songwriting?
Yes, Russian language is a lot more complex. It has a lot more things going on grammatically.
Oh,
And so it's a bit more nuanced, I believe, than English.
yeah,
But I love
yeah, yeah.
English for, look, it's a language of rock and roll, and I think sometimes simplest things
Right.
work best. The deep, profound
Matt.
things are the simplest things, right? So
Well,
I
keep
think
in
it's
mind,
both.
Marina, us Americans are very stupid, so we need it very simple, and it makes sense to us, and that's why it works so well. Is it true that you have synesthesia? Because I've never met anyone with synesthesia. Is that true or not true?
That's not me. What is
Yeah,
that?
my daughter has that. My
Your daughter has that. Okay, because that came
What
up
is-
online. That it
Pitch and
did.
synesthesia. We'll be driving around and she'll go, "Ah, this is my favorite key, C sharp. It's kind of orange," or she goes, "Oh, I love this here because it's sort of this purple hue." She really has that. And do you have perfect pitch, Marina?
I'm very close, but not.
Very
I can't
close,
say
yeah.
that.
Because we'll sit here and it's like we'll hear a car horn and she'll go, "That's a D." A door
It's
will squeak
amazing.
and she'll go, "That's an F." You know
That's
what I
so
mean?
wild.
That's amazing. It is
I
wild.
remember when I worked for
Audience.
Peavy, ironically, at NAMM, Jordan Rudess from Dream Theater was there, and we had I remember Rena in the booth, we had that, we're like a performance booth, right? And it was like, say 1:00 on a Saturday, I go, "Jordan, you got to get started, man. Like we were on a schedule, we got to go." He goes, I have perfect pitch and this keyboard is tuned a half step down. I'm like, well, can't you just pretend that C is C?
Exactly.
I can't. I literally
Hard.
can't. So we had to halt the show, run over to Korg, find another keyboard. And
He's
that
crazy,
was-
amazing pianist.
was
He
the
actually
first
follows
time
me on
that I-
Instagram. Small world.
That was
What
the
were you
first
gonna
time
say,
I
Dov,
ever
by
had
the
that
way, Dov?
experience
I
with
was going to
someone's
say,
perfect pitch.
I was just going to say that before you're throwing around a word like synesthesia, you got to define it for the audience. So
Sorry,
that,
but also
Yeah,
Shannon, our producer.
I didn't even know, but I do know
Shannon,
that
our
perfect.
producer, reminded me. I'm sorry that Vanna, our former guest on the show, had it also. But it's
Yes.
when you hear music in color. So like you hear something, like
Yeah.
David said, like you hear a note, you're like, oh, that's orange to me.
Yes.
It's interesting, yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
it's
yeah, it's
a
like a
very
color.
unique thing.
I
Now,
always
That's
wondered if
different
Eddie,
than perfect
Yeah.
pitch and things like
I
that.
always wondered if Eddie Van Halen had it because they always talked about the brown
The
sound.
brown sound, yeah.
And because Eddie was kind of quirky with that kind of
Mhm.
tone and that
Yep.
sort of maniacal pursuit of trying to get something he heard that wasn't on the market. You know what I mean? I love
Right.
reading Alex's book. He didn't allude that he did, but I was kind of wondered if maybe he did. So
Mhm.
By the way, Dov, it's one of the rare times where I had a word that you didn't know the word because you're smarter than me with
no,
at
no.
least-
No, first of all, it's just vocabulary. It had nothing to do with intelligence, but I did know the word. I just knew we had to define it
Oh,
for the
okay.
audience
I
because most
appreciate
people
it.
don't know the word.
maybe
Fine.
the word's Russian. I don't know.
Yeah,
Marina,
it
is
could be
that-
Also, Marina, am I right that you were early on in the idea, and I could be wrong on this too, for doing at-home private concerts? Like you were one of the first to do that, or is that not true?
I was. I'm not the first, but I was definitely
the first.
before it became very popular. And
Yeah, just like you were very
it was
early on with
amazing.
Patreon too, right? You did both
Yeah.
those things.
Yes.
Marina,
Yeah,
what's your kids' channel? What's the name of your children's channel on YouTube?
It's Kote Kitty, Kote Kitty, Kitty.
Okay.
Now, have either of you, Bruce and David, have you done private home concerts as well, or no?
During COVID, I was hired to perform a set where in the real, if it wasn't the lockdown, there would have been a concert. There was a very small concert. I wasn't willing to fly all the way to Florida to perform. And this was when everybody was in a panic about it. You got to get tested to even go to the thing and the whole thing. So we performed. I had my buddy Todd Kearns and my wife, also Lisa. We did some songs. We filmed it in my living room and streamed it. And there was another event or corporate, show that we kind of did actually at a beautiful venue here in Vegas. So only things like that. But I have to admit, Marina's been cutting edge with that kind of stuff. I used to ask her about how are you getting out, the word to everybody, what mailing list do you use? How does this work? And I think it's paid off for her. She has a niche market of fans that are loyal. In fact, they heard demos. We did an interview earlier where she mentioned, I didn't know the demo to this song. They've lived with it for 10 years. You know what I mean? And she shares all her creativity with them exclusively. And then, of course, for the for everybody else,
Marina,
so
I believe you were one of the first. You did like a crowdfunding sort of before that was a thing, where there was an email that went out to your college and you raised money to put out your first record, correct?
That's right. Oh my God, you've really done your research.
Ralph doesn't play around.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I did crowdfunding before that was a term for crowdfunding, really.
Right.
And it was amazing. That's how I got started. I was at Illinois College, a wonderful liberal arts school university in Illinois, and the dean of students loved what I was doing. He said, you can send email to the whole campus, see if they want to pre-order your first album. Because I was a college student, had no money. I was, to go to the studio, that was a small fortune. And we did that. It's amazing.
That's really cool. And then also to this day, you have recordings from when you were a kid, and people that are part of your Patreon, you send out rare demos to your fan base, which is cool as shit. That's a smart thing to do.
Thank you. It's fun to share those things and with people who truly care.
In your
I
early
have the
days,
fans that are. My fans are begging me to give them the tapes that I, you know what I mean, that I archive. And you know what they are of, 30, 40 years ago of Kiss things. And I'm not ready to do that. That's a little different. But this is precious what she does, and it's so valuable.
Thank you.
And Marina, on your email, there's the 2 songs a month club. You still do that?
That's a Patreon thing. Yes.
That is unbelievable to write 2 songs a month. To just like, because you know how it is. Sometimes you'll write 10 songs in a week, and then it'll be
a year
10 months before you write 2 more songs. You know what I mean? So like sort of put yourself under the gun like that.
I'm interested in that, Marina. I mean, I'm a comedian and I tour, and so it takes serendipity to find material that works. I would imagine it's the same in songs, but how much of that is just discipline and how much of it is serendipity?
Both. I think it's both. Always, if you're doing something and there is an idea, I always make sure I stop doing what I'm doing and record it before I forget it. And then I really give myself deadlines, and having to produce 2 songs every month, really, that's discipline, basically. But yeah, I always believe that, it's kind of a divine thing that we have as musicians, right? We kind of get ideas out of seemingly nowhere, and it's just magical. I still don't fully understand it.
It's great.
It's a very Russian thing. It's Russian to maintain a certain kind of discipline. It seems, at least I follow some Russian literature and athletes. It just seems it's very regimented kind of aspect of maybe your upbringing.
Well, yeah, I mean, and especially it is kind of Russian, but also I believe it's quite American. American is, go for it, make your dreams come true, work hard and it will pay off. So I think now I have both things going on.
Yeah. I mean, I see American as less sort of less steely in terms of discipline. They're doing stuff, but they kind of complain while they do it. But yeah.
Yeah, but thank you so much. But, growing up in Russia, when I grew up, and even, well, right now, I'm not even going to go there, but life is just different. And it was definitely more difficult when I was growing up. So you have to just like work harder and figure out ways. It's not a straightforward path. Like, if I can't do this, can I do that? If I can't do that, can I do this? And how do I do it? And how do I survive? It's almost kind of a survival mode, but in nicer environment,
Yeah.
And Marina, on this album, you have these 2 guys on one track. Are there other surprise guests that are going to be on the full length?
Nope.
Okay, that's fair enough.
This is it. This is your surprise.
But I do have to mention the amazing composer and the producer of the track who really put it together, because there's a lot, especially from Bruce's guitars. Just you gave him a lot of tracks, and this symphonic part, the orchestra, it's bombastic. It takes a lot of work for one person to mix it, but he also created the the string arrangement, which is
Well, you
just
gave him the
spectacular.
accolade in the video by saying kick-ass guitar solo, so that makes it all work out, right? It's a nice thing that happened as well.
That's right. I just released a little lyric video. I haven't announced it yet, but that's what lyrics, and then said "kick-ass guitar solo" by Bruce Kulick.
yeah,
I forgot to tell you that.
Yeah, I didn't know.
That's
David,
better
you-
than just guitar solo.
Yeah,
Kick-ass
David,
guitar
you,
solo.
It's
you
a
alluded
kick-ass.
to a new Lucid record. The last one had a friend of the show, Violent J, on it.
Right.
Is that coming out sometime soon? Are you working on it?
We got an announcement. We have a show coming up. I tried, as we tried to do some shows, and Drew, our guitar player, had a cancer scare there, and that kind of took things off the books for a year or so. And I just resolved ourselves like, look, we're the world's most famous internet band that'll never play a show, and then so somebody threatened to give us an offer for something, and I think they are. So it looks like maybe there's something coming up. But yeah, Drew, because we did that Donnie Iris song together with Chips Enough on it, singing on it, and Stephen Chiro, and so we Drew started sending some tracks over. It kind of chums the waters, which is why I like doing these things, any of these things. And I think it just kind of always keeps the creativity going. Speaking to what Marina was talking about, there's just kind of this discipline. And, when the phone rings, Al Petrelli taught me that when they call you, they want you to hear you say yes. They didn't call you to hear you say no, so just kind of always keep, kind of just keep on the creative treadmill, and keep it going. And recording is creative, even, just playing on tracks and stuff. So I think there will be, for sure there will be. We started working on it. All of a sudden, Drew sends me this Dropbox. It's got 10 songs in it already. So I guess I better get to the studio and start playing some.
And then one other thing quickly, is Bunker Heights ever going to be released? Is that
it is, and I'm beholden to Drew and his schedule on that with the film stuff. I got a really cool part in it that he asked me to do. An acting part in it. So it's, I love working with Drew. He's a super creative guy, sweetest guy on the planet. So he's got like a whole world of stuff going on up there in that little brain of his. So I'm told spring-ish, it'll start to see the light of day.
That's cool. That's cool as shit. By the way, Dev, one thing that almost happened with David like a year or two ago, we were going to do a battle of the bands on SDR, and he has a label, and the winner was going to get on the label, but it was like a whole thing that we had set up. We had celebrity guests coming in, but last minute we had to pull the plug on it. But it was almost a very cool thing.
Yeah, it sounds very cool.
It would have been cool, but we couldn't do it without getting into why.
We'll do it again.
We'll do it again sometime. Marina, when's the next single coming out?
Next month.
Next month. Okay, that's cool. We're going to play a game in a minute, but I want to run through a couple of quick questions. Marina, early days of these in-home concerts, what's like the strangest thing that ever happened? You go to a house and it's like a Eyes Wide Shut party, or what? What happened?
Oh my God, I've had a few of kind of insane moments as we all living the music life, right? But one of them was and usually house concert, for those of people who don't know, or home concerts, it's literally a concert in somebody's home. Usually for me, I always make sure people give me a fee. So if they prepay, no matter who shows up, I get paid, right? I can't like drive or fly somewhere and whatever. So it's, at least I get paid. One time, we got our fee in advance. We get there. It's literally one 10-year-old boy. One, and they hired, I did not know that. I don't know what happened. I knew it was for his birthday party, but I thought the whole community was going to show up and be there. It was just him sitting in front of, so Nick and I were performing, and this one kid was mouthing every word and just sitting rocking in front. We were like, oh, MFG, this is insane, but we had fun. He was very, very cool kid.
Wait a second, I have a question, Marina. What you're one of your parents were a psychologist, right?
My mom is a psychologist.
Okay,
yeah.
My mother's an analyst and my brother's a psychologist. What was your experience of the parents of this autistic child you were singing for?
They were just, I don't know, they were in the kitchen doing their own thing. They just
Wow.
Did they not acknowledge that this is a touch out of the box? I mean,
I have no idea. It's weird, but I just remember because I used to perform a lot, and people come up like, "Hey, we have a birthday party, private concert." I'm like, "Okay, great,
Yeah.
it's all on my website." So I just agreed. I would have never, I don't think we would have agreed to just play for one
that's
person.
hilarious.
It's
That's
wild. How long was the concert?
We did the whole,
2 hours.
but we thought like, we're here, we're getting paid, might as well rehearse and have fun with this kid,
I
And
like
they're like,
the
what do
idea
you
the
want
kid has to
what
go
do
to
you
the
want to hear?
bathroom, so the concert has to stop for 5 minutes until he comes back.
Yeah,
It's
but
almost
this-
harder to play for one person than it is for a room full of people.
I would imagine.
Oh, yeah.
It's
Almost
just
more nerve-wracking,
weird.
right?
It's just weird, but he was so, into it, and he knew every one of my songs, which are not songs for children, very
Right.
introspective. So it was just weird.
That's crazy.
But sweet at the same time.
Bruce, if I'm not mistaken, your last solo record was 15 years ago, BK3. Is there a thought of a new one ever coming out, or you're closing the book on that?
No, I've been promising one since even when the pandemic started. Okay, and I started to write stuff, and in fact, Wednesday I'm going to have lunch with one of my favorite people, the Todd Kearns, the singer I told you about, the singer, guitar player, bass player. And I want to tell him a little bit about some of my advances with some of the songs, some of the new material I'd like to do. To be honest, I might only start with an EP. I love that Marina does like song by song, and
Yeah.
then she could put an album together.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But either way, that's a definite goal this year. And I begged my wife, Lisa, that if I don't make progress with this, she's allowed to beat me with her favorite guitar. Okay. I got to make it happen. Okay. Because I really do like the stuff that I've created, and it's got to be shared.
I got a couple of rapid fire questions, and we're going to play a game, but we'll do the game first, Shannon.
Whose lyric is it anyway?
So the name of the game is going to be for each of you, because they're trying to figure out a way to incorporate everyone. Marina has a better education than I do by far, understands all this stuff about classical music and like that. So I made up a stupid game. Shannon's going to read them. She's going to read a quote to each of you one at a time. And the question is it Shakespeare? Is it a song lyric? Or did I make it up? You have to just pick. So Shannon, go in any order you want. Shakespeare, song lyric, or Ralph wrote it down. Go, Shannon.
Okay, number one. I have.
Who are you giving it to? You go one at a time?
I feel like, can they just like maybe raise a hand
Okay, sure.
if someone
sure.
thinks that they know it?
Yeah.
Okay. I have stood upon the edge of the water, waiting for the tide to take or bring me in.
They have no idea. No,
Hands
someone's
in
got
the air.
Oh, Marina.
It feels like a lyric, definitely not Shakespeare.
Okay.
I
I
hope,
agree with her.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm with Marina.
but I don't know whose.
Okay. Well, you guys are right. It is a lyric, and it's from Pearl Jam, Oceans.
Okay,
Ah.
good.
Nice. Very good.
Next one. Shannon, do 5 of them. Do the next one.
Okay. Number two. The tide will come and take us all, yet I stand with arms unbowed.
It's almost Creed, but not quite.
So
That word unbowed is might be a Shakespeare thing. I don't know.
Yeah,
could be
Shakespeare.
Shakespeare.
It could be Shakespeare or Ralph. I don't know. It's,
I could also be. I could also
I
be
don't know
saying
Ralph
it wrong.
right.
Shakespeare, yeah.
Okay. The answer to that one is it is fake.
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
fake
Yeah,
one.
the bow. The
Wow.
bow.
it's not
Ralph,
fake.
yeah.
It's a Ralphism.
It's a little
That's
too
Ralph.
American idiot. It's a little too low brow. Sorry, Ralph.
All right. Number three. Lost in the velvet of the midnight air, where whispers fall like rain.
That sounds like a lyric.
Lyric. Yeah, lyric.
Okay. The answer is that's correct. It is a real rock lyric, and it's from David Bowie, Word on a Wing.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so
My
Ralph,
last one, Shannon.
it's the ending word, bow versus rain. Right.
This is number four, Ralph. You wanted to do
Oh,
five?
sorry, do 5. Sorry.
Okay. Number four. The raven calls my name in the twilight hour, yet I do not answer.
That sounds like Shakespeare, right?
Beer, yeah.
I'm hoping there's going to be a Shakespeare in here.
Okay. This one was actually fake.
Was well,
Another fake one. Oh, this is
Yeah,
a,
dude,
You were
that's like a
good,
rad
Ralph.
metal lyric, Ralph. Good job.
Thank you.
Nice.
That is great
Dave,
stuff.
we
the
can
Raven,
collaborate
you
later
know
on
what I mean?
on my new album.
You took that from Shipwrecked. Good job. Nice.
Okay. Number five. The golden sun blazes overhead, yet I remain a shadow in its wake.
You think, Marina, is that Shakespeare or is that
No, I just think it's Ralph. Everything is Ralph.
I think it's Ralph.
He's all Ralph too.
Wow.
Shannon.
Okay. The answer is that one was actually Shakespeare, and it's from Henry IV.
Wow.
Yeah.
Hey, can I just say something quickly? Just last year, we were in the land of Shakespeare at Stratford-upon-Avon, and we walked into a pub, and it said Shakespeare. And every time now I think of Shakespeare, I think of Shakespeare. Anyway.
Shakespeare, it's a good one. That's why when I was a kid, I wanted to put out a Jewish beer called Hebrew, and someone stole my name. It does exist now. I thought it was such a good idea.
Awesome.
By the way, this is the only context ever in recorded time where anyone said, "Is that Shakespeare or Ralph?"
That is true.
So as far as you know, Dub, you don't know.
You're right. You're right. As far as I know.
Okay. And then now quickly, some quick rapid fire question. Bruce, are you surprised that Gene went out on the road again? Did that shock you, or you're not surprised?
No, not at all. It's not about the money for him. He's got more money than God. It's really he loves to play and he loves the fans. So he just has to do it, or I think he'll die.
Fair enough. And I'm going to ask this question to both of you guys, and then a couple of questions left for Marina. For both of your respected bands that you're most synonymous with, Kiss and Megadeth, favorite memory and worst memory.
Favorite memory, winning a Grammy. Worst
Good.
memory. Maybe we should do each other's bands. first and worst of Kiss. Worst memory. Probably when Nick Menza was out of the band.
And Bruce?
Well, certainly my worst memory would be losing Eric Carr, who we were very close with, and he died of cancer. And best memory, I mean, growing up in New York, I got to play Madison Square Garden. I made it. You know what I mean?
Cool
That was
shit.
just a thrill.
Yeah.
And Marina, is Nick the person to thank for getting you into metal, or were you already a rock and metal fan?
I was not at all. So he's 100% to thank.
Oh, that's
Absolutely.
a good thing.
He just loves rock and metal, but he loves other genres as well. So,
Right.
but yes, 100%.
I mean, I think proven by the conversation today, everyone here has multiple genres. For God's sakes, Ellefson's listening to Mariah Carey on the weekends. Like we all have our genre. I think a true musician or fan of music appreciates all styles of music. And it's funny because the whole idea of symphony and metal, this concept has worked so well for whether it was the Scorpions, Aerosmith, over the years, it's been done so successfully. They're made for each other. It just feels right every time you hear it. It's surprising it's not done more. Probably because it's too complicated to do. All right, we're going to do the first right now, Shannon.
The first time ever I saw concert did drugs had
The name of the show is the SDR Show, Sex, Drugs, and Rock and Roll Show. We have asked every guest this since we started the show. Dave and Bruce already answered these questions, but Marina has not. It is your first experience with all three, starting with rock and roll. The first concert you ever went to because you, Marina V, wanted to go see that concert. It doesn't have to be rock, but just the first concert
it was
you went
not
to.
rock. No, it was a post-Soviet boy band that I loved when I was 13.
What's the name of them?
Carmen,
Oh, that's nice.
like Carmen.
Were they huge hit in Moscow?
Huge.
Oh, okay. And now
I
the
love
first drug
them.
you ever did after weed, unless weed was not your first drug. I imagine getting drugs in Moscow wasn't easy, but when you went to college in America, it was everywhere, I'm sure.
Actually, no, I did not do any drugs in Russia, but I knew people, and I knew people a lot in the music scene. Of course, you did all kinds of drugs, but I've never done any hard drugs. The funny story, I did my first weed experience before it was legal at Graham Nash's from Crosby, Stills, and Nash.
Oh, wow.
I recorded a whole album at his home in Encino in 2008. He let us use his home studio for free with his engineer who worked for him. So we'd spend the whole summer. And those people were smoking a lot of pot. And I'm like, if I should try it, I should probably try it there. And I ended up projectile vomiting into Graham Nash's swimming pool.
Oh,
Which
no.
back then it was so embarrassing because, I mean, really, what kind of a musician am I, right? But now it is funny. But yeah.
Wow.
But,
Well, it
but I
ties in
have
the-
learned, I just have to say, drugs-wise, I have learned from people who have come before me to not do hard drugs because
Makes
it's
sense.
freaking scary.
The first time I ever smoked pot was with someone mentioned on the show before, Chips Enough, because I felt if I'm going to smoke weed, I might as well do it with him. He's so synonymous with it. And I got sick as well, but I didn't projectile vomit into a Legends pool. So I have that on me. And now, the first time you had sex.
That's a sad one. I was actually raped when I was 16.
Oh, I'm
so,
sorry.
yeah.
I
No,
usually say
it's okay. It's
the
okay.
first consensual time you have sex because that's a better story usually.
It was later when I was 17.
Oh, okay. So the new album is coming out soon, and I'm going to Labyrinthian. Did they say it wrong?
Labyrinthine.
Labyrinthine Rose
Like
is
of
coming
a
soon.
labyrinth, yeah.
We can follow each one of these guys, David Ellefson bass, Bruce Kulick, or Marina V Music, all on Instagram. The new single, which we'll play in a second, is Symphony and Metal. But as we go around the room, whatever you guys want to plug, we'll start with you, Marina. Anything else I left off?
No, I just want to thank these guys because not only they're so good at what they do, they're amazing humans and just kind and awesome all around. Just really honored to have you both. Thank you, Bruce. Thank you, David. Truly.
Yeah, they really are. It's funny, Bruce. I was thinking also, you came in the studio on my old radio show, and not on when Union came out too, and with the Kiss convention. And
Yep.
Dave, you were in my SDR podcast with Attitudes and Altitude not that long ago, which maybe now 3 years ago, 4 years ago. But it's great that I've known you guys for so long. Bruce, anything you want to plug?
No, really, just I do a lot of social media, and I'm always sharing things there. BruceKulick.com or the social media, and you'll hear what's up with me. I love sharing it.
And David?
I'm heading out on this Bass Warrior tour over in Europe all of March. And then I've got another record that I cut you'll start hearing about it in May. But other than that, I can't really talk about it yet. But it's really good, and I'm very excited about it. So.
All right, Dub, while you're in Aruba, let's hear your plugs.
No, just at Dub Davidoff. I'll be in Austin next month, and then Miami and Arkansas. Check me out at Dub Davidoff. That's all. Move on.
Shannon?
You can follow me on Instagram at ShannonLee6982 and listen to my podcast, The Thing Is, Ding. We talk about bad dates, fighting, and ghosts.
Do not indicate, but does Marina believe in ghosts? Wait till we all chime in. I say absolutely. Russian raised for sure. What do you think, Dove?
I'm in. Yes.
Shannon?
I'll say no just to go against you guys.
Marina?
I want to believe.
That's good
And
enough for me.
I've experienced weird stuff, but
So you don't believe? Is that saying you don't?
I'm an agnostic when it comes to ghosts.
Oh, Shannon won that one. God damn it. All right, follow me over at I Am Ralph Sutton, my other podcast on health and wellness called The Good Sugar Podcast. The Good Sugar store is on the corner of 3rd Avenue and 69th Street, all vegan, no single-use plastics. Do something right for your body and right for the world. We add a song every week to the playlist, the SDRshow.com/playlist. We will add Symphony and Metal right now to everyone on this podcast. Guys, girls, thank you so much for being a part of the SDR Show.